Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. Don't let Haboob hit you in the face. I'm your host, Scott Fischer, owner of Options for Senior Living, 2003. My team and I have been helping families navigate the challenging and complex world of senior living and helping them find the right long-term care solution for a loved one. If you've just stumbled upon us and this is the first time you heard this and the title of our show caught your attention, don't let Haboob. Well, if you look over my shoulder, if you're watching this here, if you can't see us, there's a 65-mile wide dust cloud swallowing Arizona State University just over my shoulder here. Last summer, a bunch of us went to work that day, and by 4 o'clock that afternoon, our city was covered in dirt. And then right behind it, 100-mile-an-hour winds, trees come down, roofs were ripped off, and torrential thunderstorms and rain hit the ground. And we all went, how did that happen? What is going on? And we know it's the season. It's August, July, September. It's getting hot and late in the summer. And these storms, this is the environment they grow in. Well, the metaphor is over 25 years now, I've been working with families who love someone whose aging journey is starting to cause them challenges. And they are in the environment. They are watching stuff happen. They are maybe ignoring things that are happening. They may be putting their head in the sand. They may not be interpreting things at all any differently. There's a lot of reasons for that, and we're going to peel that back. But unfortunately, when those things are not paid attention to or acted upon, families feel the immense pressure and pain of some of these issues. I call it Haboob. And so I have one of my dearest friends in this business joining me today, Jacqui Clark. Jackie's over in San Diego. How you doing, Jacqui?
Fantastic. I'm so happy to be here, Scott.
Jackie's the owner and the founder of Living Coastal Senior Resources in San Diego. She's a certified senior advisor. She's a founding member of the NPRA chapter in Greater San Diego. That's where we met maybe 8 or 9 years ago. She is a heart-forward, dedicated professional serving families in this same space we work in is guiding families through the challenges. So, man, good to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Very happy to be here. I have great roots in Arizona. My mother was from Arizona. I have tons of relatives, and I spent summers, if you can believe it, in Arizona. So that was always interesting.
No, nobody from California comes here in the summer. We go to you.
I lived in San Francisco. I was looking for warmth, right?
Well, there you go. We got that. We got that in abundance. Man, here in March, we've already hit 95, 96 a couple of days. It's peeled off and backed off from that, but
man, that's intense.
Man, oh man. But it's spring training season. It's the time of the year to be in Phoenix. And so, well, what are you up to these days? What's going on in your world?
So this is my 12th year in this interesting senior industry, as we call it, senior care advisor, placement agent in San Diego. I would say my biggest projects these days are I also host a podcast, Get Ready for Better Aging, which you've been a guest on twice. You were my first guest, and that was exciting.
Yeah.
We're in our second year, and it's going well. We love it. I also do a little bit of writing, but my main gig is I help families figure it out, this last chapter. Just since I began this journey in 2014 in this space, it's changed so much. It is so different. We have a new generation that we're mostly helping. I would say the older baby boomers, yet I have 50 and 60-year-olds all the time. I think the biggest surprise, the biggest haboob for me would be how much younger and sicker the population I'm dealing with. I think we could spend 2 shows on the why. There's a lot of them. That could be it. There's a lot of baby boomers, but it's definitely a surprise at how intense and quick these illnesses seem to be going.
Yeah. And, my background being a behavioral health nurse for a number of years before getting into this space a couple of decades ago, I always had an observation that particularly younger men who were being diagnosed with early onset forms of dementia, frontal temporal lobes, Lewy bodies, things like that, man, it hit them hard, hit them fast. The trajectory was pretty rapid. You guys all know that all these different forms of dementia, pardon me, it's a fatal and terminal disease, right, Jacqui? So When you
Yes.
said last chapter, we are literally dealing with people who are facing the, oh my gosh, when they get the diagnosis.
They are but an even bigger problem is they're in denial. They don't
Mm.
jump into action of what's my plan. And I know it's a shocking sometimes diagnosis, but whether you prepare or not, it's coming for you. You have to figure out how you're going to deal, how you're going to pay, how you want to care for it. There's lots of options out there, but you have to have your eyes wide open and make these decisions up front. You can't just ignore them. It will happen no matter what. It's a train that doesn't stop.
When we're younger, we feel pretty bulletproof, don't we?
Oh yeah.
like
Are
there's
we?
always a tomorrow.
Aren't we
And
young still? I thought we were young.
a couple of years ago, I lost one of my dearest friends. Kevin stroked a couple times and then died a sudden death in his mid 50s. And it just kicked me in the stomach. I just had lunch with his brother, his older brother, who's also a dear friend of mine, just this Sunday. And it just reminded me of, man, we don't have any guarantees for tomorrow. So when these things encroach, man, just because you think you're bulletproof doesn't mean you now aren't dealing with a whole and playing a whole new different ball game.
It's so true. I think I was destined to be in this industry because back in my 30s, I actually had a friend. And at the time, we didn't understand it. She had Pick's disease. She died
Mm.
at about 35 years old. We didn't understand it. We thought she just had some unlucky brain disease. And it wasn't until probably 15 years later that I truly understood the magnitude of her having such a unusual, challenging disease in her 30s. I've never heard of anybody having it that young, but it went fast. Within 2 years, she was gone, and that's something I think people don't always take into account. I wish doctors would be a little more forthcoming. Is that when you're that young and you get something like dementia of any sort in your 40s or 50s, it's not going to be a 25-year event, and
Yeah.
so you better get your house in order.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. When I've had the experience of walking families through to place a loved one and they're younger than me. Now I just turned 63. I had the privilege of being contacted by a former pastor in my life. His wife was caring for him and he had FTD, frontal temporal lobe disease, and had to be placed. And he's still living in memory care today. A number of years later, he's really outlived it. It just, as a professional, Jack, I was like, my prayers were for them. And certainly just my heart was broken because this was not the way they had designed their life, at that point.
Right. I think we could sit here and we don't want to depress people and say it's all
Yeah.
sad because there's a lot of good things happening. I just met the most incredible 93-year-old retired pediatrician, and they say pediatricians are the happiest care professionals, and I'm going to say that's true. And he's still doing some presentations. He's talking about longevity. We actually are going to partner and do something. We just kind of hit it off, and he's amazing. He's amazing. He's so crystal clear. He
Yeah.
walks without a cane, which is almost unheard of at that age. And I think his outlook on life is part of the reason he's aged so well. And I think that is what interests me. I'm really interested in how are some people getting to the end, because we all get to the end, but can't we do it like, amazingly, like happy and as much mobility as possible, as much faculties as possible. I mean, we can't always, decide, but it really does interest me, these people that are in their 90s and early 100s that are not just alive, but they're thriving.
Yeah. Yeah. When you got started in this, you mentioned you've been helping families for a dozen years now. When you got started, you probably had one motivation or you had one inspiring thing. What was that? And maybe how has that changed? Is that evolved for you?
It has, because originally it was my husband and I, we decided we just wanted to do something different. I had done 25 years in public relations and he was in
Mhm.
sales, and we had decided we just want to do something different, and we both wanted to give back. That's kind of what my last job was about as well. And so I, honest to God, didn't know what I was getting into. I think my husband knew what he wanted to do with in that space, but I didn't. But as things turned out, his direction took him somewhere else, and I was the one that stayed and actually kind of built out just what I've have today. And I think it had to do with my mother. My mother was going through dementia, but that was just sort of, it just happened. But I'm a very observant person. And I am curious and I like people and I like to figure out and solve problems. So it was kind of a natural fit.
Mm.
And I get this great satisfaction out of helping people and doing things that others can't figure out. So I think that was those were some good skill sets to have. And I just really cared about this. I guess the number one thing I realized after the fact was as I went through this with my mom and then my dad, my parents have been gone for several years. I realized nobody told you how to do this. And since I was a lot younger than most when my parents were going through it, all my peers, we all had young kids, but my peers' grandparents, their parents, and sometimes grandparents were attending their children's, grandparents' day and soccer games. And my parents couldn't. They were on their way out already. I was really alone. We both run aging parent tribe caregiver support groups. And that's probably one of the reasons why I was so like, yes, I'm going to do this. When Cameron Crawford in Colorado said, hey, we're going to open some more. Do you want to be the lead in San Diego? And I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I wish I had that. And so I think it's your personality, it's your skill set, it's your understanding that this is such an important space that we're in right now. And we really don't have we don't have a great roadmap. We have lots of ideas how to get somewhere.
Yeah.
I think most of the ideas are absolutely wrong. And we need super experienced people like yourself and myself. And the only way to get that experiences is working with people. Have you ever counted up how many people you've worked with?
I have a pretty good idea. It just in 23 years, probably about 10,000 families.
Easily.
Easily.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's thousands.
We've helped.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've helped about 4,500 find solutions, and then how many more thousands have just called me for a question or needed help, or they decided something else, or we got started and their parent died, or whatever happened. But we've given resources thousands.
You bring up a good point. For every person that you may place or move into assisted living or memory care, you have probably 3 or 4 that you help figure out Medicare, send them the right resources, help them figure out Medicaid. We call it Medi-Cal, help them figure out how to stay home, how to modifications, how to get trust and will, how to get a fiduciary in order. There's so many fingers in this whole journey. And I think that is what I would love to continue to advocate for, is that it's not just where am I going to go? It's all these other things you have to figure out before you get there.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about. You guys, in my business and in Jackie's, I think a lot of our initial clients and people we helped were often being discharged from a hospital rehab center or a hospital or a long-term care facility with some sort of healthcare intervention. They'd been sick or they'd had a hospitalization or something. As time gone on, my heart really went further upstream, Jack, because I also, part of my background was teaching at the community college level, and I love to educate. I got to know you, and you love to teach. And some of it comes from your personal experience. It's like, how can I transfer what I've acquired to help somebody else not feel the pain that I felt? And so while, yes, we are here to help people in the crisis, happens every week in our world, our mission is moved further upstream to help people recognize and see some of these changes and warning signs that are happening, how to know what to do in the event that something changes suddenly in their lives. And I think, you said you've been working on a book, you publish a magazine, you do your podcast. Yeah. And then in the middle of that, you make a living, helping families navigate. So you got a pretty full life, lady.
Oh, I feel very blessed too. Those kids went off to college and I was like, I'm no longer a soccer mom, dance mom, Girl Scout leader, coach, you name it. I was like, I have extra time now. I can do it all. So I did. And I think that's like an entirely essential part of this aging journey, is that when you are an empty nester, or maybe you're retiring from a 30 or 40-year career, what are you going to do next? We live longer than ever in some ways. We cannot expect to retire from life, sit home and mow the lawn for the next 30 years. We have got to figure out, what do we want to do? We had some friends visit us. We hadn't seen them in probably 15 years, college friends of my husband, and in our 50s, and they are avid bird watchers. And at first I was like, bird watchers. And it's funny because that's one of the fastest growing sports. It's considered a sport. And I'll tell you, they were here for like 4 days. And every time I hear a bird, I'm like looking around now, like, I wonder what kind of bird that is. The photography that he's invested in cameras, the photography he took is stunning. The information, and it's a passion they both have. They walked all over San Diego. They had their map, and there's lots to walk over, and that's what they do. But that's a great example of that. That's a sport. Anybody can do it. You can do it in a chair. You can do it if you have speech challenges. There are so many ways to have a passionate outlet without having to reinvent the wheel. And I just think that we just have to open our eyes to it.
Yeah. I love that people still want to evolve, right? That you make a point. A lot of us that are my age and a little older maybe started listening to Jimmy Buffett in the 70s and thinking, oh my gosh, it's just we're all heading to Margaritaville at some point in time. But that's living to a degree. And there's a lot of, and I'm not trying to disparage the lifestyle. There's a lot of people involved in a lot of charitable work and give back kind of things. But the concept of just like, hey, I'm just going to happy hour starts at 2:30 or 3 every day. And I'm like, they said, mow the grass or sit by the pool. Like you cannot just stop being a contributor and stop being a pursuer of people and passions and stuff. Because if you're gonna grow stale. And I think your 93-year-old doctor buddy is still living his best life. At 93, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the same day, it must have been like, I was supposed to meet these people the same day. I was at this caregiver support group and I met him, and then I met a amazing, and you know how specific this is, he just retired a year ago, geriatric psychiatrist who only dealt with dementia. I felt like I had the two most intelligent human beings that I could just pick their brain from. And because I really believe that the more we talk to people, the more we look at the patterns, we get a better outcome, you know?
Yeah.
You and I, before we started the show, we kind of spoke about why aren't they planning, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would love to just kind of explore that because I give a lot of thought to it,
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for bringing it up. I was just going to ask you about what keeps people from moving forward. What's in human nature that kind of glunks us up, and so we just wait, or we just put it off, or kick the can down the road, as we say. So what do you think's underneath all that with humans?
I told you, I give it a lot of thought. And I think the overall banner is fear. It's fear of the money it's going to cost. I have it. I don't have it. I don't want to spend it.
Right.
Death. I don't want to look death in the face. It's not me. I'm too young. I don't feel like that. It's not yet. You just can't believe it's happening. I'm too young. I have so much more I want to do. Regret is a heady feeling. I remember when I was in publishing, I worked with the author Wayne Dyer. From him. I spent a lot of time with him in his presence, was very, very blessed and grateful for that. And he had like a whole series of talks, and he wrote a book called there was a chapter called Don't Die with Your Music Inside You. When you're in your 20s, you kind of just like, yeah, it makes sense. You don't give it a lot of thought, but I see regret more than anything right now. Regret that I wanted to be a photographer, or I always wanted to travel, or I just wanted to mend a relationship, or I thought I would be further along in whatever it is, And I think that can really get you down, especially, you may be given a bad diagnosis, and then you start thinking, wow, I'm not, let's say you get given a diagnosis where it's going to impair your mobility, and it is, and you have a definitive amount of time. I never hyped the Alps or whatever the heck you wanted to do. And that's where I'm like, I see people working so hard in their 40s and 50s and early 60s, and I'm thinking, this may be the only time you can afford and you have the physical ability to do a lot of the active sports or hiking or traveling you want to do. Because as you know, it's not easy standing in lines, figuring out all the newest developments, when you're going through TSA or whatever it is. If you look around in a TSA line, I notice a lot of things. I don't notice a ton of older adults anymore like I used to. And I'm not talking 50s, 60s. I'm talking He's used to see a lot more people
Way too hard.
You don't see it. It's way too hard. I mean, what we have to do to get my mother-in-law out here, who's a spry 87, 88-year-old, it's a lot. We got to get a wheelchair because she can't walk long distances. We got to call. We got to like beg the guy at the curb to not ticket me so I can go in and get my mother-in-law so I can help her with her baggage. It's like it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so we're just getting aced out of it.
My mom health was changing quite a bit this time last year. And her sister, my aunt, and her husband were celebrating their 65th anniversary. And I had told my mom, the window's closed. I'm not taking you back to Cincinnati anymore. It's just too much. Can't do it. Plus, where she stayed with her sister, they lived in some steps down like halfway below ground level. It's kind of a sub level unit, whatever. And mom couldn't do the steps. And so my dad's sister, of all people, said, hey, bring your mom. I live on the first floor. You can get her. She can walk into my front. So I did it one more time and got mom back home for the family event. And she did get to say her goodbyes. And then we lost mom at Thanksgiving last year. So it was worthwhile to do that and to help mom have that one more time experience, and for me to travel home with mom, which was a great experience for me, even though it was a lot of work. The families that we encounter, Jacqui, are in all kinds of places and spaces. And I think what I want to be an encouragement to them is not let your circumstances derail you from getting where your heart is telling you got to go, or what you need to be doing with each other relationally, experientially. Experience it while you can. I mean, not recklessly financial and all that, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, don't load up and save for all this whenever time. Live now too, right? Live now, and don't let those opportunities go by.
Absolutely. I'm really sorry, Scott. I know that your mother had passed. It's such a hard thing when your mom passes. I'm sure that there's this moments that just hit you even all these months later, where it's just this great emotional of like, I miss her. And it sounds like you don't have any regrets. That I think people need to, I think this is where the fear comes in. So you don't want to believe that your loved one has a limited time, and it may be a very short time. So we put off bringing them out to us, or we put off moving them to give us a better quality of life. And what do I mean by that? I had 4 couples in the last probably 4 months, and each one of their spouses passed away, and there was nothing wrong with them. There was things wrong with them, but the adult kids just didn't see it, or they saw it, but they couldn't get their parents to move a little quicker. And so all 4 of them passed before I could move them as a couple. And then we had to like change all these different things, which we did. But it's really hard. I think my mother-in-law is the smartest woman alive, because in 2018, she said they had been looking, and she said, my father-in-law, they're going to move to independent living. And we're like, why? You're still practicing law. You guys are super smart, blah, blah, blah. They're like, because we're not going to live forever. Essentially, that was it. And if one of us dies, I don't want to be alone. We've decided. And I want a group of friends around me that I've made. They moved in 2018. Fast forward, my father-in-law passed away in 2023. And it was hard enough losing him for her and for us. But knowing that she had this amazing peer group around her, that she had developed all these strong friendships, it really gave us peace of mind. And I think it really helped her go through it as well. And I never considered that as an important aspect of longevity. If you want to stay home, fantastic, but that doesn't mean all your neighbors are. And that's just something to consider. You have to really have your eyes open of how's it going to go, and at what point do you want to decide, I want to be closer to my family. I want to live near them. I want to live in an independent living, or no, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be shored up in my house with caregivers. Hey, go for it. Just have your plan ready.
Yeah. Well, the theme of the show is to help educate the listener. Some of these listeners actually are other professionals that serve the spaces. They're attorneys, it's financial advisors, it's real estate professionals. So if you are in the world working with people that are aging, or their adult children who are caring for, like, hear us, what we're saying. If you're the adult child yourself hearing us, and this is about your parents, hear us, address your fear. Jackie's just saying, address your fears, move forward so that you can live without regret. I told you the story about taking my mom home because you know what I thought about? If I didn't take her home, how much would I regret not doing my best for her one more time? And I just didn't want that. I didn't want to carry that. So I moved on that. So hear me, everybody. Jacqui, I want to ask you, I want to make a statement and then tell me how this would play into how many people's lives that you know, maybe you could steal what I'm going to say. Is there a family member whose aging journey is causing you or the rest of the family system some kind of distress or stress? If we would get around to asking that question of our colleagues and our friends, if our colleagues would ask their patients or their clients that question, how would things be different?
Unbelievably, because I often say you may not be ready to move or have caregivers come in for years. That's not the part of the planning that I'm talking about. It's amazing that I always say, as soon as you're thinking about it, something's going on. I guarantee you something's going on. If people were to talk to a senior care consultant and get a picture of what it's going to look like or it can look like, I think they'd have a lot more peace. I had a 50 something, maybe 58, maybe her husband was 62. And she said, we're going to bring my mother out from another state. She's got X, Y, and Z going on. I'm like, okay. Excuse me. I had said, what's her diagnosis? And it was dementia. How many years? Right. And she's like, okay. She had asked me, why all these questions? And I said, because this is going to determine how much time you have and what's going on. And I said, is she falling? She was falling repeatedly. And we went through the why. She goes, I'm thinking of building an ADU because in California, they're unrestricted now. They're encouraging it. And I said, okay, let's go through this. So we started going through it. And just based on where her mother was, I said, you're building that ADU for you and your husband, which is fine, but just know who you're building. By the time you get that built, God knows I know the permit, how long it takes to get a permit here. It's going to be 2 to 3 years easily. Your mom's not going to be able to live in there by herself on your property in a room with the door shut, navigating. And she's like, I never thought of it like that. I go, so build it for yourself. In fact, it's a fantastic idea. You can live there. Your caregiver can live there. Your kids can live there. There's a million things that you can do with it. But know that you're not building that ADU for your mother at this point. You've missed that. You should have built that 20 years ago. And she was like, I never thought of it like that. Now, we haven't even began to work with each other. We'll probably work with each other in another couple of years. But that piece of information helped her reframe her parent aging and herself. And she even took into account, she had like 25, 30-year-old children. She even took into account, how's it going to work out for them? Because in California, we have really expensive properties that we have to manage how to pass them on without having to sell them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just my mom needs help in moving into assisted living. I'm seeing this reverberation. And the reason it's so important to get involved in it, I find, is that 58 or the 60-year-old can't move on because they can't figure out the other pieces. So they can't turn the key because they can't get the key in the lock. So I'm trying to help them get the key in the lock so they can finally turn that and open the house up and get it going. I love analogies. Anyways, I am sometimes, I have been a litigation expert in cases on assisted living. And specifically, I determine how much is it going to cost to live in assisted living. And that is such a loaded question because there's no like, dun, 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 dun. No. And I remember telling the attorney the first time I did it, I said, it depends. He goes, what do you mean? I go, how old? When are they going? What kind of disease? What's the history? What's happening? Where are you living? What's your lifestyle? What are the conditions? And you could tell he was like, this is ridiculous. And I go, this is how you have to do it, And it was amazing because we did this long assessment and then I put together a plan and I had said, this gentleman will need help within 1 year. And he's like, no, he's living at home fine. But I said, when he goes up and down the stairs, he can barely breathe. He had a condition that was contributing to, which was a progressive condition that and where he was in it was going to be a problem in the next year. Well, the case went on a long time. In the second year of the case, guess who moved to assisted living?
Had to go. Had to do it.
Yeah.
I've been intrigued by the question because I asked my primary care physician, and I was kind of annoyed. I'm kind of annoyed by it every year. They hand me a piece of paper, and it has smiley faces on it, and on a scale of 1 to 10, are you smiley facey? Are you eating too much or drinking too much, or how are you sleeping? And I'm like, I got to tell you what, Doc, I'm kind of annoyed by this. I said, I wish you would ask me about how, if there's anybody in my family aging was causing me problems, because I would tell you all about my mom. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, do you know how much that dominates my life? Do you know how much distress it's caused my marriage? Do you know? And I just went on and on and on. And he was like, what? I go, if you're not asking people my age that question, you're missing it. If you're just doing your little depression inventory, good for you. But you're not asking people the right question to expose what they're really experiencing, so that Jacqui, you and I and guys like us, people like us, can actually help people with their stuff so that they don't have this big old storm roll into their life and wipe them out. And then they go, what happened? We could really impact people. We adopted another saying around here. And again, a lot of my work is with the adult kids. When you peel back 20 years of this, it's like the adult kids are usually my clients. And I say this, it's our turn now to love and care for those who love and cared for us. It's our turn now. This is our thing. This is our generational time. You did it, done it with my mom. We're doing it with my in-laws. I'm becoming the trustee for my mother-in-law's oldest brother who doesn't have any kids. He's 90. I'm picking up another one because I can, and I love people.
It's a worthless assessment overall. It's like, I always think of, like, in high schools, they slap up a flyer and say, no bully zone. Doesn't do a thing to control the bullying or address the problems of it. And this is the same thing. I think the doctors don't even know the questions. And that's the problem. They don't understand the problem. So they can't ask the questions, right? And it's so they're just as surprised as the next person. I remember going through a checkup several years ago, and she happened to ask me, what I did, and I talked about it, and she was interested. And I think I don't know how we got on it. We got on the subject of cognitive decline. I go, well, there's just so many types. She goes, what do you mean? And I said, well, dementia is just a banner. And underneath it, and I started just naming. She goes, I've never even heard of half of those things. I go, and that's the problem. How do you even recognize what's happening with your aging population when you don't even understand the disease? And I'm not saying they should, because they are the primary care. I feel like we need a better system. Barely anybody ever gets to see a Jerry's psychiatrist. That's a very unusual specialty. It's usually reserved for our spiciest clients that are doing things a little differently. But I do think there could be value in an initial evaluation, because there's signs that you and I can even see, just because we've had thousands of people's. And again, I'm observant. I take notes. I see that, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they had mentioned, I really think my parent may be experiencing some cognitive decline. And I just asked her some simple questions, and she was like, yeah. How'd you know? I go, well, those are kind of hallmarks, the executive functioning questions, it. I'm just like, does your mother hand the menu to your dad, or just look to him in a restaurant and say, what do you think? And I'm not saying there's some people who've always done that, but I'm saying if you have a mother who's always been like, I'm getting the shepherd's pie and I don't care what anybody says, and I'm also getting, a lemonade and a side of mashed potatoes, and all of a sudden she keeps saying, what do you think? What are you getting? Or when the food arrives, I ordered that. Or all of a sudden the food they like tastes different. These are all hallmarks of something's happening. And we always say, I'm not a doctor, but I can absolutely recognize if somebody's tripping, right? We know a trip. We see a fall. We see a stumble.
Yep. I can look at people. I just went to see a good buddy of mine last year. Hadn't seen him in a while. He's in his later 70s, and I looked in his eyes, and I knew in a heartbeat. And now he's gotten diagnosed and stuff. So we're having lunch this Friday. So we're about a year after that first experience when I hadn't seen him in a while. As you said, there are things when you ask people, do they initiate conversation anymore, or do they just respond to your questions? Do they look to their kids? When you go into somebody's kitchen and you're meeting the mom and the daughter for the first time, is the mom answering questions or is she deferring? You could just see the dynamics setting up. So you guys hear us because these are the things that are happening early, usually before but somebody's feeling like this isn't right anymore, or something's shifting in mom or dad, and we got to maybe get some help. If your parents, and maybe this is I want to ask you another thing, and then maybe we can wrap up. And will you do me a favor? Will you do this again with me, and come back and talk to me again in a few months? Yeah. I guess I wanted to ask is, well, let me go another direction. We'll save that for the next time. In front of you, then, what do you see yourself doing in a few years from now? I mean, the task is very tall for us to educate all these people and to bring the message out. And so where's your inspiration? What do you want to be doing in the next couple of years? Down in the trenches, building a bigger team so you can help more people, growing out your message. What do you think?
I'm a loner in terms of the business, in terms of I like to manage it all. Now I have a great support team. I have an accountant and a CPA and a marketing person and all that good stuff. I tend to partner with other small boutique people like myself because I find I need to work with like-minded people like yourself. So I think that's how I've built out my team. I continue to just share referrals or work with them. It's a great model for me. And I just think that's what's great for me. And everybody does it differently, and you got to do what you want to do. I love writing. It is my passion for sure. It's funny that I'm a writer because I could barely read at 7 because I had some learning disabilities that I totally overcame. And it's ironic that I made a career in public relations and speaking and writing because I was a very bad stutterer as a child as well. So I am embracing this piece of my life. I'm going to be in the senior industry for a lot longer, I think, at this point. I think I'll do it until I decide I want to do something different. I'm starting to do a lot more speaking events. I feel I have this need to reach more people, and I can't do it one call at a time. And that's one of the reasons why I started my podcast, because there's not enough time in the days to do these type of conversations we're having one person at a time. So I'm trying to get a bigger audience, excuse me. And I'm doing a lot with caregivers. When I say caregivers, I'm talking to people in the trenches caring for their loved ones, either hands-on, medical appointments, management, whatever it is. That is the biggest need I see right now. There is tremendous anguish, stress. Caregivers are dying at an alarming rate. Our caregivers need support. And every time I see something new through Medicare happening, I get disappointed because it never is right. It's expensive and ineffective. And I usually go right to the consumer who's been using the program. And I had asked someone recently, I think it was the guide program, and most people don't know about that. And I'm still trying to get my head around it. But she was using the guide program, and this is what she told me. She says, it's just causing more work for me. So I just canceled it. I'm like, well, that's not helpful,
Yeah.
So I think advocacy is definitely, unfortunately, is written across my head in some capacity, but I like to do it on my terms. I feel the best way to reach the best way to make change or to make a difference is go directly to the consumer. I don't have a lot of faith in the system at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think besides being heart forward, you're thoughtful, you're insanely smart, you're strategic as all get out, and I know you serve your community, you serve your families really, really well. I don't think there's any coincidence that you're going to write that book. When I was a little boy, I wanted to be a baseball announcer, and then that all seemed to go away, right? I never thought. The first time I took a communications class in college, I wiped out. I couldn't even say my name and introduce myself hardly. And first time they gave me a microphone, I just barfed on myself, And now look, all these years later, I've hosted regular radio shows, been on TV, done all this. Now we're doing this new project. And I've used my voice now, not just in our market, but man, I had the opportunity of a lifetime to be the mouthpiece to a mission for a while and meet you and meet people in Dallas and meet people in Denver and use my voice and my, my passion about things that I think were important. So it's not coincidence. It's your design is to reach the masses. I'm super excited to be a part of your world and good friends together. Would you tell everybody, you mentioned the parent tribe. So I always talk about the tribe here for a second.
Yeah.
Our good buddy Cameron Crawford in Denver launched the original Aging Parent Tribe. She has thousands of family caregivers in that group. Jacqui, you are the owner of Living Coastal. So tell everybody how to get a hold of you, your tribe,
Yeah.
and then I'll get us out of here.
Yes. So coming from a PR background, I break all the branding rules. So my website is This Is Living Well, because I want to live well, not age well. I want to live well. So thisisLivingWell.com. My placement company is called Living Coastal Senior Resources, and podcast Get Ready for Better Aging, all found under thisisLivingWell.com. I am always open to talking to anyone in terms of a plan. Even if I can't help them for whatever reason, I always get them to a person who I can help. And I really appreciate being on the show today. It's just always wonderful to talk to you. You have a wonderful voice, I might add. I always say that when you come on my show, that you have a great voice, nice, rich baritone. So keep using it. Keep using it. Yeah.
I don't think they can shut me up at this point. I was encouraged for so long. Well, Jacqui, thank you. And to my audience, as I said, as we came into this, more than 2 decades now, Options for Senior Living has helped families navigate the complexities of long-term care. And it's one thing to help you find the right situation. It's another thing to have a guide. And my family and I, my wife, our 2 daughters, we're a family business here. We walk you through the process, and you'll never just get a list or a direction. You're going to get a person to customize and listen to you and customize a plan and bring it to fruition. So also, if you're in Phoenix, check us out on Facebook, the Aging Parent Tribe in Phoenix. If you are that adult child and you need some support, you're looking for resources, you're looking for connection, do not isolate yourself. That's a dangerous place to be. Connect and be a part of that community. We have hundreds of families now part of that tribe here in Greater Phoenix. And so if you like the show, like us, download us, tell others. Go to Jacqui's show, like it, download it, tell others. Again, this is Scott Fischer with Options for Senior Living. It's been a pleasure to talk to you guys today. Looking forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks and take care.